meeting to order. Thank you all for joining us, and welcome to the August 6th Durango City Council meeting. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for those of you joining us live on DGov. We're happy to have you. I want to start by reminding everyone here that as a council, we have adopted the Civility First Pledge program, which has been put on by the Durango Community Relations Commission. And it's a program that supports, encourages and promotes social harmony where everyone is treated with civility and respect. And as a council here in Durango, we operate under that pledge and we conduct our meetings accordingly. So I just want to remind, soon we will have a banner up here on our wall, which we will be able to point to, and we're looking forward to that. It's in progress. We have, I imagine, some public participation tonight. So if you would please help us by signing up on the sign-up sheet below, we would appreciate it. It helps us run efficient meetings. And with that, please, may we have a roll call, Ms. Phillips?
Councillor Baxter?
Present.
Councillor Bettine?
Here.
Councillor Noseworthy?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Brookie?
Here.
Mayor Youssef?
Here. City Council, do we have any perceived or actual conflicts of interest this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. We have one presentation tonight that is regarding our ongoing City of Durango sustainability initiatives. I'll introduce Kevin Hall.
Kevin Hall, Assistant City Manager. Councilors, I guess it was probably a couple weeks ago, we got an indication that there was going to be some folks in the room tonight to share some thoughts about our sustainability goals. So staff felt it was important to maybe provide an update. We gave you an agenda doc with some of our primary initiatives that we have underway right now. Imogen Ainsworth, our sustainability coordinator, is going to briefly walk you through them, and you did get a chance to see the agenda docs, and certainly we can answer any questions. I know that the agenda docs also generated some additional questions from councilors. We'll be following up on those questions here in the next handful of days to kind of get you answers to those questions as well. But it seemed like a good opportunity to update the community and council prior to hearing from the community in a couple minutes. Imogen? This should be right up there. This one? You want to take it from there?
Okay, so yeah, as Kevin said, just a very brief update of sustainability program, ongoing initiatives, and then a few specific initiatives that we thought that some of the people here might be interested in as well as council. So the sustainability program, the kind of overarching goal of the sustainability program is to foster collaborative actions that promote the responsible use of resources, enhance quality of life, and maintain the unique character of Durango for the benefit of present and future generations. The Sustainability Action Plan is one of the documents that helps guide the sustainability program initiatives. The plan was adopted in 2015 by Council as a strategic framework for organisation-wide sustainability. The plan includes 181 individual actions under 10 overarching strategic areas. And I'm going to talk about a couple of the initiatives, but I know we've had some questions about other specific initiatives within that plan that we'll follow up at a later date. So these are some of the kind of ongoing initiatives that contribute towards achieving actions in the Sustainability Action Plan, related to transportation, waste, climate adaptation, outreach, municipal resource use tracking. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about these last four related to greenhouse gas emissions tracking and resource use efficiency and renewable energy. So the first is a community greenhouse gas emissions inventory. So a final draft of the report that came out of this inventory was included in the agenda doc. The inventory was completed in-house with pro bono support from local scientists through a partnership with the Thriving Earth Exchange, which is the sort of pro bono arm of the AGU, which is the American Geophysicists Union. The inventory provides a snapshot of emissions occurring inside city limits in the year 2016 and was conducted in line with best practice protocols developed by ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability, and World Resources Institute. The protocols are used by the vast majority of local governments that are completing similar inventories. The idea is to provide a benchmark to inform plan updates and goal setting. So although the report provides detailed methodology and results and does include some ideas for community emissions reduction, the idea is for it to inform plan updates and goal setting, not act as a standalone plan. And some goals for greenhouse gas emissions reduction were created through the creation of the Climate Energy Action Plan back in 2011, but not formally adopted by Council. If there is appetite for developing kind of additional greenhouse gas emissions reduction goals, then staff will work with Council and the community on developing those goals. Alongside the community emissions inventory, we also developed a municipal greenhouse gases inventory. And these are the preliminary results from that process. This inventory was also completed in-house using the same protocols but for the local government inventory, and provides a snapshot of emissions occurring as a result of municipal operations in 2016. Emissions from municipal operations accounted for about 4% of total community emissions in 2016. So the largest categories were building and facilities and water and wastewater in those emissions, in the emissions inventory. And for this inventory, we do have a comparison year. So there was an inventory completed in 2008, and we can see that according to the preliminary results, so these are not the final results for this inventory, but from these preliminary results, it looks as though there's been a 13% reduction in total emissions. And when you look at the change in terms of per employee or per capita population, that changes to 23% reduction. So one of the ways that we can reduce emissions from municipal operations is through energy efficiency upgrades and renewable energy. So I wanted to give an update on a program that is currently underway, which is energy performance contracting and an investment grade audit. And so in March 2019, following a review of available options by staff and with support from the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, as well as a presentation of findings at a City Council study session, we selected energy performance contracting as the most viable option for identifying and funding energy efficiency, energy and water efficiency upgrades and renewable energy. Energy performance contracting happens in Colorado under state-enabled legislation that was adopted in the mid-1990s. And it's a program that enables the city to pay for energy and water efficiency upgrades and renewable energy through guaranteed bill savings over time. It's emerged as a low-risk, proven strategy for local government and other public entities looking to make significant improvements to their facilities at little or no upfront cost, and has been used by 152 public jurisdictions since the legislation was passed in the 90s. This strategy has the benefit of taking an organization-wide, whole building approach to our energy and water use to maximize long-term resource and financial savings. And in May 2019, the city contracted with an energy services company, which is pre-qualified by the state of Colorado to complete these investment grade audits and energy performance contracting. We contracted them for an investment grade audit of municipal buildings, parks and recreation facilities, and the water treatment plant. And so the preliminary audits have been complete, and we anticipate completion of the detailed audit and an evaluation of the proposed EPC in early 2020. So these are some of the buildings and facilities that are being considered in the audit, and that preliminary list of measures that's been proposed by McKinstry includes HVAC replacements, lighting, controls, building envelope improvements, equipment upgrades, and also solar at a lot of different city facilities. So that's currently still being evaluated. And finally, the Sustainability Action Plan, as I mentioned, was adopted in 2015, and we're looking at the end of 2019 and into 2020 at working on a second generation update of that plan. And so the inventory, the existing sustainability action plan, the comp plan update from 2017, as well as the EPC process and community and council goals will all feed into determining exactly what the scope of that plan update looks like and what is included in it. So that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much.
On the update of the sustainability plan.
Thoughts, comments from council? Questions, council?
I think most of my questions are the ones that they were referring to that would be
Yeah.
answered in the coming days, so I'm looking forward to
Perfect.
that. Thank you very much. This is a very timely topic.
Okay.
We appreciate the update.
We may have some discussion about the energy performance contracting versus PPAs, which is another vehicle that I know some folks in the room might be espousing. So at any rate, the city at this point is on the energy performance contracting methodology of providing solar as well as all the other
That's right, yeah.
elements of building design that need to be
And the thinking behind that was twofold. Our understanding was that we couldn't enter into a power purchase agreement because LPEA is the only entity allowed to sell power within city limits, according to the city's franchise agreement with LPEA. And there are other methods, such as a lease for the equipment, for solar equipment. But the energy performance contracting was the only method that allowed us to take a holistic approach and look at the buildings across the organization from an energy efficiency standpoint, as well as from a renewable energy perspective.
I believe that's what, we'll find the previous city council adopted that, or addressed that methodology over directly just using PPAs as a measure of purchasing power. Exactly. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Just a couple things before we move on to the consent agenda. Just to let the audience know, first of all, I think we clearly have a lot of people in the audience here about sustainability and clean energy, and I'm hoping the TV can look at you all and see your signs, so lift them for us if you will.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay. Yes, we're all ready for 100% clean energy. A lot of people. Yes. So I'm sure that they will get that for you guys. But we appreciate your your attendance and your voices. So thank you for being here. And we will move on to public participation, but not quite yet. We're going to go into our consent agenda items, please. And Ms. Phillips, can you please read our consent agenda items?
Certainly. Items 5.1 through 5.3 are approval of minutes. 5.1, the study session of July 9th, 2019. 5.2, the joint study session of July 11th, 2019. And 5.3, the regular meeting of July 16th, 2019. Item 5.4 is discussion and possible action concerning Resolution R 2019-30, authorizing additional appropriation in the Airport Fund and in the Airport Capital Project Fund for airport water system disinfectant improvements construction project. Item 5.5 through 5.7 are requests for public hearings with a proposed date of August 20th, 2019. 5.5 is to consider a preliminary minor subdivision for Twin Buttes, Phase 1, Filing 1B, Lot 71. 5.6 is to consider final plat subdivision for 1201 Main. And item 5.7 is to consider amendments to the City of Durango Code of Ordinances to comply with recent changes to state law, reducing maximum jail sentences for municipal ordinance violations.
Thank you. Do we have any counselors that would like to remove an item from the consent agenda tonight? Oh, seeing none. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items as stated.
I'll second.
Ms. Phillips, may we have a roll call, please?
Councilor Bateen?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brookie?
Yes.
Councilor Baxter?
Yes.
Councilor Noseworthy? Yes. Mayor Youssef?
Yes. All right, moving on to public participation. I think we have quite a bit tonight. Let's see. This is an opportunity to provide comments or ask questions for items that are not otherwise on the agenda. When I call you forward, if you would please join us at the podium. State your name and address clearly for the record, if you will. We are limiting comments to 3 minutes. At 2.5 minutes, our city manager will kindly wave his hand to let you know that your time is almost up. We do not mean to be distracting, but we are trying to run efficient meetings. But we're very appreciative of what you have to say, and we will be actively listening. We don't normally respond from the dais, especially with this many people in the room, but we may respond briefly or follow up with written comments. And with that, okay, thank you. And Councillor Brookie is reminding me that instead of just repeating if you agree with something, feel free to come up and just say, I agree with whatever somebody else said. It will help us manage the time. Thank you. And starting that, if we could start with Dick White, please. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's interesting to be back on this side of the podium.
Yeah, I bet.
My name is Dick White, and I reside at 575 East 8th Street. I've been advocating for climate protection both as a citizen and as a member of the City Council since my arrival in Durango 16 years ago. Addressing climate change has been among the top priorities of recent City Councils, and it's my understanding from Councilor Brookie that it remains so with you all, and I appreciate that. Let me simply state my main points. My first draft of this ran closer to 5 minutes than 3. So out of respect for your time and the many other people who are here to speak tonight, I will simply hit my main points and omit the detail. I want to compliment Imogen Ainsworth and the consultants for doing a really great job on the greenhouse gas inventory. I also acknowledge the ongoing effort of staff to identify the most cost-effective ways to reduce our carbon footprint of city operations, and Imogen also talked a little bit about that. Regarding renewable energy supplies, I strongly urge the council to act soon to resume annual meetings with La Plata Electric Board. We got preempted last year because of the fire, and I think it's important to continue that again, and particularly a dialogue about collaborating on the essential tasks of not merely setting, but achieving ambitious goals, such as those advocated to the council by many of the people here tonight, 1,000 or so residents and 100 businesses 2 years ago, and more recently articulated specifically by the La Plata Electric Board. We thank them for that. To address energy performance of existing building stock, I urge the council to implement a policy that every property, not just the residential properties mentioned in the emissions inventory, be subject to emissions inventory before they're sold. And that this, I hope, would bring potential buyers to bring market pressure for improving our building stock. This is a recommendation that appeared in the 2011 Climate and Energy Action Plan. I acknowledge the last council adoption of the 2015 International Energy Conservation Code, although that was a divided vote because we got pushback from the community about it. I think it is worth, I would urge that the council undertake the triennial update of the codes to the 2018 version. Concerning transportation emissions, I believe that the multimodal transportation plan and the comprehensive plan, with its focus on infill and density, already provide a solid policy context for ongoing efforts. I would mention in passing that even though solid waste only accounts for 2% of our waste stream because of the boundaries one draws on how you do these inventories, there's something like 70 times more waste upstream for everything that goes in the landfill. And finally, I hope to Joe budget to expand efforts to inform and engage the broader community around climate change to enhance the city's position as a leader in municipal climate protection and adaptation efforts. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, that clap was well-deserved for all of your efforts in supporting sustainable and climate action and energy efficiency for our community for the past literally 8 years, so thank you so much. All right, moving on to Don Lloyd. Sorry if I pronounced that right, I can't.
Nobody knows how to say my
Well,
name.
and I'm sure.
It's Doan.
Oh, okay.
It rhymes with coin.
Doan.
I'm new to Durango, and I'm here to support sustainable energy. I have a couple of comments which are probably preaching to the choir based upon what was said here. I have a medical degree. I'm now retired, some formal background in epidemiology and evidence-based decision-making, so I have hard looks at things. I've lived off-grid and rainwater collected in the semi-arid area of New Mexico for most of the time from 2004 until moving to Durango this year, so I'm quite familiar with using no groundwater and using no electrical energy from the grid. I have two basic points, one of which you probably know, but I don't know how serious people are taking things. Climate change is here, as you probably know. The results are very serious and well documented from multiple sources. There's almost a 100% consensus among experts that this problem must be addressed right now. This degree of expert agreement is unprecedented in the history of science. We cannot wait for federal and state governments to rescue us. Moving to 100% renewable is critical. It needs to be started at the local level for many reasons, not the least of which is the practicality of utilizing our roofs, which require no installation of transmission lines and no dependence upon large entrenched power companies. I guess I have one question. Again, I'm new to this and a lot of this may have already been answered. Has the city investigated microgrids for all your facilities? I also know, and again, I'm not an expert in this by any means, but glancing at things, you can look at what Hawaii is doing for solar with storage. And they are installing at around 10 cents a kilowatt hour, I think. And again, I'm not an expert in this, and some of these numbers may be wrong. But they're installing at something in the range of 10 cents a kilowatt hour solar with storage. So that's not just solar when the sun shines. Okay, I guess that's my basic spiel. Thank you very much.
Very much. All right, we have Amber Henry, I believe, speaking on behalf of Nancy Van Dover, correct?
Yeah, well,
I wasn't sure how you wrote.
with your permission, because of how busy it is tonight, so we both have a testimony.
You bet what? Excuse me?
We both have a testimony.
Okay.
So I have my own, and then she has one, so with your permission, I would read both, but
Sure.
if that's not okay, I have a copy of that as well here for
Well,
each of
you can both speak. You can speak for her if you'd like to read hers. That's
Yes,
fine.
I-
I'm going to ask the community, if you will, please, though I love the energy and enthusiasm, if you could please withhold the clapping at the end. We try to ask for that, just to be equitable, I guess, to all sides. So if we could just try to do that going forward, though we appreciate the enthusiasm. And yes, you can go ahead and do that. You are then, can you introduce yourself?
Yes. And I'm just passing out an article, a very good article on 5G. My name is Amber Henry. I live in Durango, Colorado, and I'm here to talk to you tonight about 5G. I am starting by speaking on behalf of my friend and Durango resident, Nancy Van Dover, who can't be here tonight because she's been sensitized to wireless radiation. So this is her testimony. Dear Mayor, councilors, ladies and gentlemen, why isn't this public knowledge? I was just asked this by the family of one of my patients that was made extremely ill from her home wireless router. Why don't people know that science conclusively shows that wireless radiation causes cancer, suppresses the immune system and hormones, causes free radical damage, affects sleep, memory, learning, mood, and is causing infertility, fatigue, even heart arrhythmias, and in some cases, electromagnetic hypersensitivity, also known as EHS. Why don't most healthcare practitioners know about this new tobacco? Perhaps it's like what happened with tobacco. It took a long time for regulations and public information to catch up with the science. There was a lot of lobbying by the industry so that they could make more money and have everyone addicted to their products. During that time, many were injured without being told about the danger. This is much worse than tobacco. If we could see or smell it, this wireless toxin would be so thick in this room that you couldn't see each other. It's the same almost everywhere I've checked with my meter. Cars, offices, homes. I had to get a meter after I was badly injured June 17th downtown close to the West Building. I didn't know there were cell towers on it. I doubt that many people do. I think a health survey needs to be done in the blocks surrounding that building.
30 seconds.
Other surveys taken close to cell towers show that many are affected and some have become hypersensitized like I have become. Now I have terrible brain symptoms, migraines, and heart palpitations. I will just try and get through this quickly. So we're asking for the city's help to change this and make citizens aware of the dangers of wireless radiation. We believe that people that live around the West Building should be notified of what is being put up and broadcasting into their houses. I have actually been down and measured that last year, and I can talk more about that later. So, yeah.
Thank you.
That is on behalf of Nancy Vandover of Durango. And this is my own testimony. So 3 years ago, a telecom company installed a cell tower 500 yards from my house in Parker, Colorado. I didn't know what it was, but I assumed it was safe. I assumed that the government would not allow something that would endanger the lives of me and my children to be placed in the middle of our neighborhood near homes, parks, and schools. 6 months after this tower was installed, my children and I became ill. I almost died from a systemic infection because this type of radiation, which is radio frequency, also known as microwave radiation, not only suppresses the immune system, but according to a recent decade-long $25 million study by the National Toxicology Program, has been conclusively linked to cancer. It was then that I relocated my family to Durango and began my journey back to health. But because my family was poisoned by the radiation from this tower, our lives are forever changed. My children can no longer attend public school because they are now sensitive to wireless radiation, and they cannot tolerate being in a classroom with a wireless router overhead and 25 Chromebooks all connecting. They were coming home sick every day, and after getting nowhere with the 9R school district, I made the difficult decision to pull them out of school. This phenomenon, known as electromagnetic hypersensitivity, or EHS, is the future we all have to look forward to if 5G rolls out in Durango. 5G, the fifth generation of wireless technology, is not just a step up from 4G. It is a massive saturation of cellular transmitters placed throughout the community, near homes, schools, and businesses, every few hundred feet. That is every 2 to 10 homes on public rights of way, meaning that you could wake up tomorrow with a cell transmitter installed right in front of your home, broadcasting 3 and 4G microwave signals and 5G millimeter waves at frequencies of up to 100 gigahertz and beyond, into your house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The Telecommunications Act of 1996, before most of us even had our first cell phone, preempts local municipalities from rejecting this infrastructure on the basis of public health. And yet, communities all around the world are fighting back against this tyrannical overreach of corporate-sponsored authority. In February of this year, wireless industry reps testified in a hearing to Senator Blumenthal that they have spent exactly $0 on researching the health and environmental impacts of this technology. And yet, as 5G rolls out around the world, communities are reporting the collapse of bee colonies and bird populations. When 5G recently rolled out in Hague, Netherlands, literally hundreds of birds dropped dead from the sky. The rollout of this technology is not only an assault on our constitutional right to life and liberty, but also an assault on the health of our community and wildlife. We, the people of Durango, must fight back. We must let our city councilors and planners know that if they allow this rollout to occur, they may also be held personally liable for assault. The Gold Coast, Australia, has stopped the rollout, at least for now, based on this very premise. We need every voice in the community to fight this. We need your help now. Please go to DurangoForSafeTechnology.com or follow us at Durango for Safe Technology on Facebook to learn more and find out how you can help. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for holding the, thank you for holding the applause. And just for the record, Ms. Phillips, did you get that that was Amber Henry? Okay, good. I'm sorry, I didn't recall. All right, calling forward the Foltz family, please. You're passing, okay. Sandy Burke. There.
Hello, I'm Sandy Burke. I live at 863 East College Drive in Durango, and I have recently ended 18 years on the Parks and Rec Board. I'm here to talk about the proposed change to ART, the Animas River Trail North, and eliminating the bridge over 32nd Street. This is a basic issue of safety versus money. I would beseech you all to carefully review the June 10th summary signed by Mayor Youssef, memorializing the conversation Kathy Metz had with the GOCO folks concerning the grant the city received to cover some cost of this project. And also the June 19th letter submitted by Spencer Compton of the Multimodal Board, which is an excellent description of how and why the alignment over 32nd Street is the preferred route, which I'm sure you have those. If not, I'm sure you can be provided.
They have them, yes.
The number one issue I've heard from the public on the Animas River Trail over many, many years and meetings, emails, and personal encounters is that safety is the major concern. During the recent meetings we had on whether to allow e-bikes on the ART, which were attended by literally hundreds of people, we had several meetings, safety was highlighted over and over. Specifically, the width of the trail was discussed. People do not feel safe and are not safe when the trail is narrow. They're forced to jump out of the way of oncoming or passing bikes, scooters, or skateboards. They're worried about unwanted dog encounters and being crowded by others. Collisions have occurred on the older, more narrow sections of our trail. All of our new or reconstructed trail is a standard 10 feet wide to help alleviate possible collisions and unsafe situations and ensure people are not anxious and worried when using the trail. Making the almost 5 foot wide sidewalk with barriers on either side, hemming people in along 32nd Street to be a part of the trail is totally unacceptable. Another serious problem with this change is the at-grade crossings. The intention of the ART from the start was to avoid at-grade crossings if at all possible. It is to create a safe, convenient, pleasant pathway along our river corridor. The city has spent millions of dollars on bridges, underpasses, and specific routes to avoid at-grade crossings over the years. Please note that in 2015, 70% of voters supported continuing to pay a half-cent tax to pay for the completion of the ART, among other things, not to make 5 foot sidewalks and at-grade crossings part of the Animas River Trail. It's heavily used and will be more heavily used when we complete the northern section. Our citizens have said they're willing to pay for the completion of the ART, and they specifically want a safe 10 foot wide space with no at-grade crossings. Please respect the voice of the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Sweetie Marbury, please. Welcome back to you too.
Thank you. My name is Sweetie Marbury. I live at 2256 West 2nd Avenue. I'm speaking tonight on the Animas River Trail North and the completion of the trail with a bridge. I'm asking council to put money in the 2020 budget for completion of the bridge as planned for protection of the public. The bridge was always in the plan. I can remember back in 2011 walking that site with former city councilors and knowing that a bridge would protect citizens from car and pedestrian interaction at grade level. The Multimodal Board wrote an outstanding letter supporting completion of the project with the bridge to protect the public. GOCO funding grant request signed by Kim Baxter stated the Animas River Trail connectivity is a must. It will allow increased pedestrian and bike accessibility and safety. Increasing safety concerns were also articulated in the grant request. The $1.3 million grant received from GOCO I fear that the city would lose at least $500,000 if the bridge was not included in the project. Small children, parents with strollers, dogs and families without the bridge will leave a 10-foot wide sidewalk at Memorial Park, cross at grade level, and then walk on a 5-foot sidewalk to cross the river to go north. This is just not acceptable safety procedures because we all know that there'll be an increase in volume once the north opens up. There will always be Parks and Rec projects that will want money. I'm encouraging the council to put the money in the budget, finish the north, build the bridge, protect the public. Don't rob Peter to pay Paul. Mayor Youssef, the Animas River Trail is a legacy. It's for protection of children, of families. It cannot be ignored. I'm going to remind you about Molly Shine, who died several decades ago on 32nd Street riding her bicycle. 32nd Street is the second busiest street in Durango. Why would we not protect our families, our tourists, and our children? Mayor Youssef, your children ride bicycles. My children ride bicycles. How much is a child's life worth?
Thank you. Rich Holine, please. Welcome, Rich.
Thank you very much. Rich Holine, 602 Powderhorn Trail, Hesperus. I chair the Durango Parks and Rec Advisory Board. Just wanted to echo and support the climate concerns as expressed by Dick White and by some of our other community members. My wife and I are both members of the Citizens Climate Lobby, and that group's very active in trying to build broader awareness of the severity and immediacy of the challenges that we have with our climate situation. So I'm hoping Durango continues to be a beacon of progressive, intellectually, scientifically based decision-making when it comes to things like this. And so all of the encouragement that you're hearing from other people and the specific things that have been laid out in the prior strategies, I hope you guys will see through to fruition. I also want to mention that the recently updated draft master plan for parks and recreation and trails has in it components that relate to our climate situation, energy efficiency and whatnot. And the slides earlier referenced the solar panels on the rec center, the commitment to trail connectivity and encouraging people to use other modes of transportation other than conventional automobiles, and the urban forest plan, the community urban forest plan, which as a board we continue to look at and see how we can further enhance, all make positive contributions to carbon related concerns. So that's basically it. And I would share, just as one individual, concern about the safety as we move north with the Animas River Trail and the question of how best to address crossings at 32nd Street. I know there's multiple factors in trying to decide what's the best course of action for that. My biggest worry, and I hope it is absolutely a 1 in 10,000 or more possibility, is if the bridge is not constructed and we have a fatality like we had several decades ago. In retrospect, I think many of us would second guess the questions about the amount of money involved and should we go back on a prior commitment, et cetera, et cetera. So I hope council will keep that in mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ellen Stein, please.
Hi, I'm Ellen Stein. I live at 3314 East 4th Avenue. And I was sorry not to be able to attend the July 23rd study session on the capital improvement projects, and I understand there was a lot of discussion about the bridge. So I'm here as you're embarking upon your budgeting session for 2020 to speak to those, to speak to the issue of the bridge at 32nd Street. I'm an Animas City resident. Like I said, I live at 33rd and East 4th. I have since 2006, so I've been in that neighborhood for a long time. And I'm urging you to include the construction costs for the bridge in your 2020 budget. And there's so many reasons to support it, which include fulfilling the vision of the Animas River Trail as a continuous trail with no at-grade crossings, to continue investment in our multimodal and recreation infrastructure, for which Great Outdoors Colorado recognized Durango in its March 2019 Spirit of Durango, One Town's Conservation and Recreation Values article, and as others have said, to protect the health and safety of our citizens, especially children, families, seniors, and people with disabilities. Mayor Yusuf's May column in the Herald stated that the proponents of a new trail bridge connector over the Animas River and 32nd Street cite advantage to trail users in terms of safety, aesthetics, enjoyment, and staying true to the overall art vision of seamless trail connectivity, and opponents cite the estimated additional $3.4 million required to build the bridge and suggest that the current at-grade crossing at 32nd Street is satisfactory. I'm here to say the crossing is not satisfactory. I'm a cyclist and pedestrian and use that intersection all the time. I'm also a member of the Multimodal Advisory Board, though I am not here speaking on their behalf, I am speaking on mine. But the Multimodal Advisory Board's vision is to create a fully connected transportation network that provides for an outstanding transit, bicycling, and walking community in Durango. And a measure of achieving this vision is that a middle-aged school child is able to safely and conveniently access transit and bike or walk independently throughout Durango and its environs. Not only does an at-grade crossing greatly diminish the vision of the ART to avoid at-grade crossings whenever possible, but the sidewalks, as Sandy indicated, across the bridge are 5 foot wide at most, half the current 10-foot standard. Imagine bikes, people, strollers, wheelchairs, dogs, all trying to use these sidewalks simultaneously. You may have seen this week the spate of articles on cyclist deaths in Colorado being on the rise, surely mostly on the Front Range, but not entirely, and fatalities have increased to 22, the highest since 2002, and have steadily increased since then. Sweetie said, 32nd Street is the second busiest street that will only get busier as the Art North Trail is completed to Oxbow, and probably most importantly, 93% of the community uses the Art. Let's see, 30 seconds. We're fortunate to have sales tax funds for recreation, and yes, there are numerous demands, yet these projects are long planned and the funds are there. The decision is not an either or. Please listen to and respect the input of citizens and prior councils, advisory boards, and especially city staff who work hard every day to continue Durango's investments in its multimodal recreation infrastructure and continue to serve as a model for other communities. Please keep this project on track and include the bridge's costs in the 2020 budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Ellen, could I ask you to summarize that and send us a written copy of some of your thoughts?
I can email it.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't write that fast, sorry.
Can we please have Britt Bassett join us? State your name and address, thanks for the record.
Hi, I'm Britt Bassett. I live at 2613 Rim Drive. Ron, I think you ought to get a couple of switches and a little yellow light and a little red light.
Yeah.
So when it's
We're just
time,
gonna get a
you can
big
switch
like
when
bong
people
up
can
here.
see it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk for 10 minutes, so you don't have to worry about me.
Okay.
I'm also an elected director to La Plata Electric Association from the city of Durango. I've been on the board for over 7 years now. And I can tell you, when it comes to renewable energy, local economic development, and doing our part, there's a lot that can be studied. And any bureaucratic group, LPA, first we talk about studying it, then we study whether we're going to study it, and then we study it. But eventually, it's such a relief when you set a goal. And LPA did set that goal. And so I want to really encourage the citizens and the council to set a goal. That goal then helps relax things a bit and helps you give a foundation to do something. And a goal, you don't know how you're going to get there. You don't set a goal already having it figured out. You set a goal as something to give you hope and to guide to get there. So please consider that. I know there's been a variety of goals put together and the staff is working, but the council has to lead, like the LPA directors had to lead to get that going, working with staff. I also want to second what Dick said, that we need to have LPA and the city get back together again. I want the city to push LPA for local economic development and for more, do our part when it comes to things like climate change, et cetera. And I want LPA to continue to push the city. We can't just study things forever. We have to take action. I was chair of a power supply committee that took so many years to get to that point where we actually finally got some good, valuable information about steps to take. We have an excuse at LPA for being a lot slower than the city council has been. You don't have over you a tri-state generation transmission. You're your own bosses. You can do what you want here, and I think you should. You should be more of a leaders. We looked at Delta Montrose to see what they've done. That's a community that you would think wouldn't be as great a leaders as we should be here. They're ahead of us, and of course Taos is ahead of us as well on these kind of things. We can do better. We should do better, and I'm looking forward to working with the city council to figure out how to get it done. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. And thank you for your service. Katie Pellicure, please.
Hi, I'm Katie Pellicor, and I'm the Energy and Climate Organizer at San Juan Citizens Alliance. We're at 1309 East 3rd Ave in town. San Juan Citizens Alliance advocates for clean air, pure water, and healthy lands, the foundations of resilient communities, ecosystems, and economies in the San Juan Basin. I sent the City Council a letter last Friday on behalf of us and Local First, and as stated in that letter, we are here to ask for updates, which thank you for giving those updates, on the city's progress and actions taken towards your sustainability action plan, and we're also here to ask for your commitment to adopt a resolution for 100% local renewable energy by 2050, with a milestone goal of 80% local generation by 2030. And I'm late in the game here for speaking, but how many people here are here to support more renewable energy here in Durango? Our renewable energy petition, which we initially presented to the council almost 2 years ago, now has over 1,300 resident signatures and 121 local business signatures. Durango residents are ready for the city to drive energy transition in our community, and we're here to work with you on implementing bold sustainability initiatives. Cities across Colorado and the entire country have adopted similar and more aggressive goals, and we hope that Durango can be a leader here in Southwest Colorado by adopting a strong renewable energy goal. By investing in clean energy, the city will be investing in a healthy environment, economy, and community. Renewable energy helps keep our energy dollars local, creates high-quality jobs, and stabilizes costs. It also helps protect the quality of life for Durango residents by keeping our natural resources healthy. We're already feeling the impacts of climate change here in Southwest Colorado. As our winters become shorter and warmer and our summers longer and hotter, wildfires are intensifying, our snowpack is decreasing, and local industries from agriculture to tourism are bearing those costs. Our economy and way of life here relies on a healthy environment, and we have a responsibility to mitigate climate impacts by taking steps towards curbing our carbon footprint. The city of Durango has certainly made progress towards a more sustainable future, and we applaud those efforts. Thank you for the updates on your greenhouse gas emission studies and for the updates on the Sustainability Action Plan. However, we do urge you to set a bold carbon reduction goal now, even without definitively knowing how you will get there. As we said in the letter, we would rather see you try and fail than not try at all. So we're here tonight to ask the city to commit to a strong carbon reduction goal and begin the transition away from coal-fired power to clean energy. Doing so would benefit our community both economically and environmentally, and we're here to work with you as you begin that process. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I just can't control it, but everyone's too passionate about these topics, I can tell. I hope I pronounced this correctly. Liza Ray?
I have something here to present to council.
Okay, you can pass it over there. Thank you. You can state your name and address.
My name is Lisa Ray, and I live at 543 East 30th Street in Durango. Let me get straight to the point. We are the first generation to see the advance of climate change, and we are the last with a chance to fix it. Since I last addressed this body, climate change has become a climate crisis. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, we are fast approaching the point of no return, yet the city of Durango is moving at a snail's pace to do our part to arrest it. Currently, we're all frogs in the proverbial pot of water, except we have the ability to turn the heat off before the water boils. We simply don't have the will to do so. We act like this is a hot tub. Life is good. Almost 2 years ago, we came before you asking for bold action to address, to address the crisis. I've been patiently waiting and watching for news of your plan for implementation. But until tonight, nothing. Since then, 100 additional cities and 7 states have committed to 100% renewable goals, formed plans, and started implementation. Don't tell me we can't do it. As my dad would say, can't never could and never will. The cost, don't tell me we can't afford it either. The cost of failing to invest and budget is unimaginable. Just think about how the economy was affected by the 416 fire. The train may have sparked the fire, but prolonged drought due to climate change was the cause. It was the second in as many decades, and there's more to come. As the author Paul Harkin put it, we are at a turning point. Either we can drown, burn, or starve ourselves in the face of climate change, climate crisis, or come together to innovate and implement. In his book, Drawdown, he proves that the profit you can make from the solutions is greater than the profit that the polluters made. But decisive action must be taken now before big corporations swallow up that opportunity. Together we can do this and everyone can benefit. Catherine Hayhoe, a scientist and evangelical Christian in the IPCC, believes we need to put aside science and ask each other, what kind of future world do you want your family to live in? I ask, is it the one with a growing methane cloud over our heads, mercury in our water, harmful particulates in the air we breathe, an increasing amount of food being manufactured in constant fear of fire and floods? Or is it like me, one with clean air, water, and soils, healthy forests and rivers, plenty of fresh food, and predictable seasonal changes? If your answer is the latter, then adopt this 100% resolution that I just passed out, implement the KEEP and the SAP, invite stakeholders to help establish a feasible plan for accomplishing the goal, and put it at the top of your priority list. No more excuses, no more procrastination. We have wasted 10 years talking and studying about it. Decisive action must be taken now, or tomorrow won't look as good as yesterday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Miss Katie Waller, please. Okay. Monique DeGiorgio.
Good evening. My name is Monique DeGiorgio, and I'm the Managing Director of Local First. Our office is at 1309 East 3rd Ave in Durango. Local First is a nonprofit alliance of locally owned independent businesses and organizations. We work together to build an economy that values people, the planet, and prosperity for everyone. As such, our mission takes into account the triple bottom line, that is, the economy, our community, and the planet.
So local renewable energy speaks to our mission of local self-reliance, both economically and environmentally. We want to thank Imogen and the City Council for the update tonight on the Sustainability Action Plan, and we really enjoy working with Imogen. But tonight, we would ask that you take a bolder goal to achieve 100% local renewable energy by 2050, with a milestone goal of 80% local generation by 2030. This is our second request to the City Council to adopt this goal. About 2 years ago, we presented overwhelming business and resident support for this goal, with 111 businesses and 952 individuals signing on to support it. Then we said, keeping energy dollars local offers businesses entrepreneurial investment opportunities, creates competitive, high-quality jobs. It stabilizes our energy costs for citizens and businesses as the cost of fossil fuel continues to rise, and it does protect our quality of life by keeping Durango's air, land, and water healthy. We also, 2 years ago, asked the council to approach LPA to see how we could work together to achieve this goal. And we do thank you for bringing this up to LPA in October of 2017. And since that time, you've heard tonight, LPA has responded to this request, and they've set their own strategic goal to reduce their carbon footprint by 50% from 2018 levels by 2030, while keeping the cost of electricity lower than 70% of its Colorado rural electric cooperative peers. We applaud their leadership and a vision. Tonight, we're asking for your leadership and vision, and we are really pleased to present that we have 1,300 city residents and 121 local businesses signed on for the support of this goal. So tonight, we ask that number one, you set the goal, and number two, that we can work together as a community to implement that goal, set achievable milestones, and track those. A prime example of the economic prosperity that's leaving our community is found in the relationship between our local electric cooperative, LPA, and Tri-State Generation. LPA is sending approximately $70 million a year out of the local economy, and this money could be recirculating in our community. If we could produce 10% of our power locally, that would be $7 million. So there is an economic case to be made, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you
very much. Tim Wheeler, please.
Actually, I think you should, Tim Wheeler, I live at 189 Verde Lane. Address is Durango, but it is in the county. And I think you should give the clock to Dirk, because everybody can see him.
I know, I always feel like I should go, hello.
Or some pom-poms.
Yeah.
So thank you for the presentation tonight on the update of the greenhouse gas emissions inventory and also the sustainability action plan. That was very helpful. And I applaud the city for what they've been attempting to do at this point. And I won't spend a lot of time sort of rehashing what some other people have said, which is very cogent, I think. But I will say that I encourage you as a council to demonstrate the leadership that I think that the community is asking for. I think that is the role and the responsibility of you as councilors to listen to the citizens of this community. When you have a petition that's so widely supported, it's time to listen and to take some action. We, as everyone has mentioned here tonight in this context, we are running out of time. And while we, in our actions here alone, won't save the climate crisis, everything that we do demonstrates the leadership that we as a community can demonstrate. And I think that's really important. So I really encourage you to take action. You can do that. You can set a goal. We did that at La Plata Electric. I am a director on the La Plata Electric board, as Britt is, although I'm not speaking on behalf of that board at this point. But we took time. There's been 2 years for you to consider this. We came up with a goal. We set it. We are moving towards that goal. Despite that we have a incumbent energy provider at the moment whose contract doesn't actually allow us to do that goal. We are still moving forward. We are still trying to achieve it. And I challenge you to do the same kind of thing here tonight. I'm also going to switch gears for one moment away from the energy piece and just mention that I'm also on the board of Local First. And I heard tonight about the river trail and the money spent to, or being contemplated to spend for a bridge across the river. And thank you. And I don't have an opinion on the spending of that bridge. What I do feel as a former downtown merchant is that the priority has been completely out of whack to extend the trail up to Oxbow Park, which is even closed at this moment because of flooding. When you can gain access on that trail to big box retail at the south end of town, but you cannot get to downtown. There's an economic driver and a return to do that, and I'm very disappointed, actually, over the years, to see that money is spent to expand the trail, but not to connect to the driver of your economic downtown. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mary Robin, please.
Good evening. My name is Mary Robbins. I live at 85 Folsom Place. I'm also watch you all on TV regularly. I'm one of those wonks out there. So just a shout out to all you. Hey, happy birthday, Jonah. It's my son's birthday. I'm here for you and your classmates at DHS and in 9R School District. I'm here to speak about reaching out to our community in ways, well, how they will respond to your bold action that we're asking you. I have found in my career as a landscape architect with a specialty in ecological restoration that people are very slow to fund abstract efforts with climate change and things that they can't see. I've switched my career. I now provide financial services for healthcare and for payroll. People will pay for their health and for their salary. That's where they'll put their money. I want to take small actions where people can see it will help the health of themselves, the health of their children, and their salaries. In particular, I think looking at the 5G, I'm glad that got mentioned. People can respond when it affects health. I'd like you all, I don't know if it's in your plan, but as a mom at schools, I think a small step is to stop idling in our town. Telluride has stopped it. I go to schools, I see people just sitting there. I don't want to be that mom that's like, please stop. You know, if you guys could make a simple, bold action and stop to idling, that would be one step in people's awareness that their actions have consequences. And if we had, just like with 5G, if we could see what that pollution's doing to the children in the playgrounds and in the surrounding areas, people would want to stop that right away. Is there any effort going on with idling that I don't know about? Okay, it might be my next cause once my children are out of the house, if you guys don't do it. The second one that I think could be an easy fix, and I don't know if it's at your level or state level, is to get electric school buses. Those school buses are toxic and they're dirty, and I know at the Green Council lunch in the wintertime, they mentioned how that electrification for school buses is an easy way to start. I really recommend, if you guys have the power, to please help that. And why not put people in Edgemont who commute into town, adults, on school buses too, right? Like maybe school buses could be more of a community asset than just getting children to school. So those are my two main points. As a landscape architect, I also would love if we could just allow for people to not have to mow their grass so much and let it grow long so the moisture can stay in it, since aridification is something that might be happening. You know, I'm just trying to think of small, simple things. And in terms of the 5G, I was really surprised when I got a knock on my door saying that the city needed my water meter to have a new electronic relay to the town. I'm just concerned about all that invisible wavelengths going to my house as well. So if you could take small actions to help your bold plans, I think that would help. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robbins. Just a couple things. Thanks about the tip for letting grass grow longer, keep moisture, and I could use that. And you should give that same talk, I think, to the 9R school board about the buses, because they control their buses.
Thank you.
So, but we heard you, and I recommend you follow up with them as well. All right, Dan Hunt, please.
I'm Dan Hunt. I live at 288 Animas View Drive. And the proposed vote on the environmental things, I'd really like to see it go further. And one way that I've seen that happen in other places is that many times I've read where, you know, an entity, a city or a state or whoever it is, passes the resolution to improve things, and then they surpass it. So as Brent mentioned about setting goals, setting the goal and getting things in motion gets things moving, and not doing anything, nothing happens. Thank you.
Thank you. And Miss Linda Hunt. Linda, sorry. You can correct me if I was wrong. I can't quite tell from the writing.
My name is Lindy Hunt, and I live at 288 Animas View Drive as well. I don't have any prepared remarks, but I agree with everything that has been said about sustainability. I do want to emphasize that I'd like to see us doing a lot more with having battery backup, with allowing, I don't know the details about it, and I'm sorry to not be more literate on it, but I know that if the city or individuals, more of them, were using battery backup, then when the sun is not shining or when the panels are covered with snow, they could still use that electricity from their batteries and not have to be paying LPEA and all the carbon footprint involved with that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That concludes our public hearings for tonight. I just did want to add very briefly, I'm going to turn to you, Councilor Noseworthy, that we have created some draft goals that we are working on, and we just had a study session on it tonight. We still have work around those draft goals to materialize them, so your timing was very good for us to hear, and we're working on creating actionable items around those, but if you could read what we started with.
First of all, let me just say thank you for all coming out. This is democracy at work, isn't it? I mean, thank you. And I think I counted 24 signs there. As someone married to a scientist and being involved with scientists a lot, let me say climate change for me, anthropogenic climate change is real, and we are at a crisis. So I recognize that, and thank you all for speaking so articulately and passionately about the need to act now. So I appreciate that so very much. We met earlier today and have 5 kind of big goals. The language isn't fully together, but we are working on that. It'll be kind of coming back and revisiting it August 20th. But the third item of our list of 5 talks about our environment, we're reworking the language a bit, but it's about responsible stewardship and resilience of our natural resources. But under that section, we set 3 kind of issues that we wanted to look at as a council for how we would kind of hold ourselves accountable, and then the staff would be developing SMART goals around those. Those include appropriate funds for departments to achieve, let me start again, sorry. Implementing, so around this issue of environment and responsible stewardship, it's evidenced by implementing a cross-cutting sustainable action plan, so taking the plan off and really implementing it, in which all departments have key performance indicators. And to that effort, we would appropriate funds for departments to achieve their key KPIs and hold them accountable for progress, measuring it on a regular basis. We would commit to establishing a goal of either reducing the city's carbon footprint or increasing its use of renewable energy. That's something we would be working, a commitment on our part to establish a goal of one or the other, and focus on improving air quality, water resources, fire mitigation, transportation, land use, and food systems. So this is in our 5 goals right now. We're still reworking it and coming together. It'll have SMART goals around that leading up to it, and that is
still in draft form. We'll be looking at it again August 20th. I will also say that we set early on a request to meet with the LPA new executive director. I believe she's coming on shortly. And actually to not just the director, but the city council to meet with the LPA directors. And so we have taken, Britt and Tim, your advice and are moving on it. It is a timing issue, but I appreciate your encouraging us to do so. So for me as a person who's been involved in climate change issues for many years, thank you. Thank you for your work. I see so many activists here in the room, and I know that Durango is, we're so fortunate to have you here, but we all have a responsibility because climate change is at a crisis now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other counselor would like to respond?
I just wanted to touch base. I mean, it was a real privilege a couple years ago when we handed us that 1,000-person petition, and we were able to, along with Councilor White and Sweetie Marbury, myself, meet with La Plata Electric Board and hand them that petition, which I think really prompted a good amount of action on their part. It was, there was certain members of the board at that time that didn't find it very appealing to listen to that request, but certainly the new commissioners have taken it and advanced it beyond amazing. Well, certainly far beyond what we thought we would be a year ago. But and I'm understanding from Monique that council is going to receive another 1,000 signatures, a new petition.
It's an updated number, it's not an additional 1,000, but we can present.
So it's the same petition updated.
Yes.
Okay. So I was just waiting to see that stack. It's pretty interesting to look at. I can say that along with the goals that were articulated by Councilor Noseworthy, we have been planning a meeting with LPEA. Obviously, your new CEO is just come on board. Want to let her get her feet wet, and I believe that we're trying to get that scheduled as soon as possible. So, and those are really quite fruitful meetings, and looking forward to that. I'm also reminded that it was about 2 years ago, when Dick White was mayor, when he signed on to the Colorado Climate Communities Pact in Aspen one morning, and was able to witness that, and it was a pretty big milestone in terms of actual measurable quantification of what the city of Durango is doing towards that issue. And Dick, I know, is involved with that to this day. So, there's nothing here that seems unreasonable. So, just thankfully that we have a group in our community that makes us different from other communities.
That's right.
And look forward to working with you.
Yes, thank you all for joining us. You make our meetings much more enjoyable and fun, so thank you for being here. All right, with that, we're going to move on to our public hearings tonight. So this might be a good time. A little break. You bet, you bet. But only a quick one, Barbara, please. Okay.
Well done.
Take advantage of any opportunity, my mother used to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, they did. I saw her scratch
Oh, okay.
out.
Will you hand that to Amy? Thank you. All right, we get our people back. Okay, we lost Dean.
Yeah, he said because Barbara was gone, he was going to take the opportunity.
Where'd you go? Out there? There. Yeah. Thank you.
All my devices are running.
Was particularly your phone with the timer issue, huh?
Yeah, the timer's up.
Yeah, it takes it.
Great.
Yeah.
We had 50 of them.
I know.
Well, if you just hurry, I'm gonna.
I thought I charged my iPad.
Oh, now Melissa's going. Or is she going to go get Dean?
I'm going.
Drag him out of there.
Melissa now. She went to get you. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure, yeah. No, that's fine. Sure.
Okay. All right, we're moving on. Moving on to our public hearings. Ready, everybody? We have one quasi-judicial hearing tonight. Please note these hearings are an opportunity for citizens to provide formal into our decision-making process, and the format is intentionally organized to ensure transparency and fairness to all parties. These quasi-judicial hearings require a legal process in which facts and opinions are presented to City Council, and we sit and serve as unbiased decision makers. The applicant has the burden of proof in these proceedings and must present testimony or evidence to support the request. We welcome all public testimony, but we do request that it be relevant to the issue at hand, and we do limit comments to 3 minutes. Structure for our hearing tonight is we're going to hear from our city staff. I'll open the public hearing. We'll have a presentation from the applicant. We'll have public testimony, and then we'll have questions for council. And I'm going to ask council to save your questions to this time so that we can try to run an efficient meeting after all of that public participation. We'll then have a response from city staff, a response from the applicant and developer, and we'll close the hearing and have a motion from council. With that, Ms. Nicole Killian.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Nicole Killian, Assistant Director, City of Durango Community Development Department. And this is the Three Springs Crossing Plan Development. So we're excited to have this before you tonight because staff not only has the development team, but staff's been working on this project in the South Fork Character District area for quite some time now. So seeing momentum out there is exciting for all of us. So this is a request from GRVP LLC, represented by Russell Planning and Engineering, for a preliminary development plan and subdivision for the 21.8-acre site south of Wilson Gulch Road near the intersection of High Llama, which is where the signal that's currently not turned on is located. So the subject property is located in the South Fork Character District, which was before you in May to have some amendments to that plan in order to make sure that regional commercial uses were allowed all along the southern portion of the plan area. A little bit closer view, this property is located south of Wilson Gulch Road. This is High Llama, the existing High Llama Road, and then this is where the current signal that's currently not turned on is located, which will feed into the project site. Again, it's 21.8 acres in size. And just to kind of go through a process of where, like I said, we've been through quite a few years of looking at this property. So in 2011, it was annexed into the city. And then Wilson Gulch Road was constructed and completed in 16. The Character District Master Plan was approved in October of 16. Staff and the applicant design discussions occurred in 18 till present. And then we did do some amendments in May of this year. Planning Commission did hear this item on June 19th. And City Council hearing tonight with recordation of the PD and subdivision plat for this month. And then site plans for 2 of the lots will be probably, one of them's underway right now, one of them will probably be coming in the near future. with building permit applications following site plans. So the way it works is City Council will see the item tonight as part of the preliminary plan, and then final plans are dealt with at the city level. And unless they're over 10,000 square feet of building area, then they do need to go back to Planning Commission for a major site plan review. And then also Design Review Board will be very involved in all elements of the buildings on the properties. So again, in May, we did change this whole area to commercial regional. This is the lot we're talking about. GRVP owns this lot. And then the other commercial regional lots are still owned by the Crater family. This one has come before the previous council and is going to be changing ownerships very soon as well. So commercial regional, it needs to be consistent with our dimensional standards in the LUDC, as well as the uses. We're very consistent with the LUDC on. And does not need to meet the minimum lot size. Our LUDC has like a 10-acre minimum, and we're in the South Fork area. We figured there's going to be some lots that are smaller than 10 acres, so we wanted to make sure that we had that flexibility for the acre or lot size. Otherwise, everything else is consistent with the LUDC. So in site context, again, this is the site. The Smart 160 trail currently runs along the south edge of the site. And it also wraps up along the western edge and ties into Wilson Gulch. And then in front of this property actually has bike lanes for Wilson Gulch. East Owen Road currently ends right here. It was developed as part of the Rancho Vedado development. So it will be continued on to Wilson Gulch as part of this project as well. They are proposing to subdivide it into 6 total lots. Lot 1, 4.5 acres, lot 2, 3.7, and then lots 3, 1.2, lot 4, 1.3, lot 5, 1.18, and then lot 6, 8.96 acres. We have actually a project submitted for this lot 2 right now that went through Design Review Board. It's for the Subaru dealership to locate from their current location out to Wilson Gulch Drive. So that will be coming to Planning Commission in the next couple of weeks for a major site plan review. So that just shows them a little bit different. One thing that we want to point out is this is private property. So the Metro District, continuation of Three Springs Metro Districts, will be owning Ewing Mesa Drive as it comes into the development. And they'll also own the connection for High Llama and Owen Road, and make sure that those connections are made. And then they will have internal circulation that will be private through easements, as well as utility easements shared within all 6 lots. Staff's been working with the development team to make sure that the subdivision and the lots are created and ready for someone to come in and develop their individual lots. So we're working with them on what Ewing Mesa driveway looks like coming into the project, where pedestrian routes will be, where bicycle circulation will occur. And again, it's all private, so we're working with them on how that could look on private, smaller road standards. Also worked with them quite a bit on landscaping. To the west, they have their regional stormwater facility that's been constructed, and making sure that that ties in to the trail system. They also have landscaping plan that shows where street trees are going to be located, not just along the streets that the Metro District is putting in, but also internal circulation for the future. Also looking at site exhibits and signage and art. So having some monument signs, possibly an art piece in the median of Ewing Mesa Road. And then also making sure we have some potential art locations where we're going to have connectivity from the Smart 160 trail into the project site. And because it's Three Springs Crossing, we also want to make sure that it does tie into Three Springs, even though it's going to look different. It's not going to be the traditional neighborhood development that you're going to see in Three Springs with the smaller lots. It's going to be, you know, regional commercial. We want to make sure that they carried in some of the elements of Three Springs. So looking at some of those monument signs, having some of the stacked stone elements that you already see out in Three Springs, so it connects it all together. And the same with the site furnishings, consistent with what they're doing in Three Springs. This is their light fixture in Three Springs. So making sure there is some consistencies out in this area. This is just a plat, legal plat that shows the creation of the 6 lots with the easement, this easement road, and utility easements as well. And then reviewing this, we use the LUDC criteria for preliminary development plan of a PD, as well as the subdivision criteria. And staff did review the criteria, and the project does meet the LUDC for preliminary plan approval and subdivision. So our analysis is that it meets the criteria, subject to recommended conditions. And staff did, in the Planning Commission staff report, we did list quite a few conditions of approval. A lot of those were just making sure that we spelled out what was expected so that developer or future developers of individual lots can go to one place and see what the expectations are for the development. And again, like I had mentioned, the Planning Commission did hear this on June 24th, and they did vote 4-0 to recommend approval. And the minutes were included. And the conditions that the Planning Commission approved are listed here. I can read them, but they're in your packet, so unless you want me to answer anything specifically, I won't read each one individually, but the conditions are in more detail in the staff report. So staff does recommend approval based on the Planning Commission's unanimous recommendation of approval for the project. And I'll read the formal recommendation. So it is a recommendation of the Planning Commission and the Community Development staff of the City Council by motion approve the request from GRVP LLC for a preliminary development plan and subdivision for the Three Springs Crossings development, and authorize the mayor to sign the final plat prior to recordation. And the applicants are present.
Thank you very much. All right, can we have the presentation from the applicant or developer, please?
Good evening. For the record, I'm Nancy Dostal with, we work with Russell Engineering, but as of August 1st, we became Short Elliott Hendrickson, SEH. We're still all the same people and hope to provide the same good service, plus a few more in the future. We're representing GRVP. John Penny and Gary Whalen are here tonight. We can answer any questions that you may have. We've been working a long time with staff on this and think we have it at a good place. GRVP is really excited to get this finally off the ground after all these years, and has a very tight time turnaround. We've been with the 2 projects, it's a little unusual to have one submitted before we've actually created the lot. We appreciate staff's flexibility in working with that with us. I hope the meeting that didn't happen in August really kind of or July really threw us really there. So we're working hard, trying to get these closed. There's closing scheduled, we really appreciate your staff's time and understanding of our tight schedule on this. So, anyway, if you have any questions, we're here. John Gary, our engineer, Philip Renheck's here also.
Well, I don't think we have any public testimony, correct? So I think if council does have questions, do we have any questions?
I just had a comment. I thought it would be worth restating a question that was asked in the Planning Commission hearing. The chair, Lewandowski, just commented about the proliferation of metal buildings down there, and the answer from the staff at that time was mentioning that those are in the county, and I thought for anybody watching on television, if they're still out there, it might be worth restating that is not the case with this particular development.
Yeah, this project actually does have to meet the city's commercial use design guidelines, which don't allow the metal building. So they'd have to, if they had a metal structure, they'd have to do some cladding and things like that, so it doesn't look like a metal building, because we have criteria in there for types of materials that need to be consistent with what we've seen, native materials and materials that we see consistently in our city limits. So yeah, they have guidelines.
Any other questions from council? Pretty straightforward. Okay, so no other, okay, I think we can look for, I'll close the public hearing and let's look for a motion.
Nicole, you mentioned a much longer motion than what's in our paperwork, or a much more detailed motion.
Oh, I just read the recommended motion in the agenda doc.
I can make a motion.
Right here?
Yeah, I could, no, it actually, you actually,
I read the one in the agenda doc.
Yeah.
that's not what we have.
Use mine.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the request from GRVP LLC for a preliminary development plan and subdivision for the Three Springs Crossing development, and authorize the mayor to sign the final plat prior to recordation.
Second.
May we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Brookie,
Yes.
Councilor Baxter,
Yes.
Councilor Bettine,
Yes.
Councilor Noseworthy,
Yes.
Mayor Youssef.
Yes, thank you. And we are sorry for the calendar glitch. We did recognize that. We were hoping it wouldn't affect anybody, but it sounds like it did. So I'm glad staff was able to be responsive. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to item number 11, introduction of ordinances. Item 11.1 is, Dirk, actually, can you give the readings and give us a number, please?
Yes, I can. This is ordinance 2019-18, an ordinance amending Chapter 19, Article 3 of the City of Durango Code of Ordinances to create the position of police service technician and to grant authority to appoint police service technicians to enforce the city's municipal code and declaring an effective date. That's all I have. Follows the hearing last 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Follow up from council, any other questions? No? Okay. I think we need a motion then.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2019-18.
Second.
Okay. Go.
Councilor Noseworthy,
Yes.
Councilor Bettine,
Yes.
Councilor Baxter,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brookie,
Yes.
Mayor Youssef.
Yes. Okay, Dirk, 11.2, please.
Yeah, this is an ordinance 2019-19, an ordinance approving the annexation and initial zoning for the 821 addition to the city of Durango and declaring an effective date. I would note that this was one that was started a few months ago and has been waiting on completion of paperwork, which we now have, and plats and so forth. So this one's ready for adoption.
Councilors? Good motion? What was the number again, Dirk?
2019-19.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2019-19.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Ms. Phillips?
Councilor Bettine,
Yes.
Councilor Baxter,
Yes.
Councilor Noseworthy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brookie,
Yes.
Mayor Youssef.
Yes. Okay, moving on to council reports and actions. Councilors, anyone have anything they would like to share at this time? And please, I encourage you also to update us on your liaison activities with your boards.
I'm going to pass because there have been no board meetings since our last meeting, so
Okay,
nothing to update you on, and
all right,
maybe next time.
okay.
I've got some updates and a request. So the Alliance meeting was yesterday, yesterday, and we have 4 candidates for the executive director that have come from the search firm, and we're proceeding with reviewing those recommendations and feeling pretty good about the schedule. So that's, and the quality of the candidates that were put forward.
timeline for,
I think we're hoping to have some conversations and possible interviews still within August, the month of August.
okay.
So we're trying to.
Timeline interviews August.
Yeah, it's involving people's schedules and things like that, so that's taking place.
Hope to hire by, or offer.
The offer might be in September, but the person would probably need to finish up responsibilities at his or her current.
Still have a little time.
Still some time. Full disclosure, I serve on the board of Durango Playfest. So I did want to remind everyone who might be watching that we have playwrights and directors and actors from New York City, LA, Denver, and the region here workshopping new plays. So it's a great community event. I think we have close to 90 actors and people involved in the production, and board members are involved in the production this year. 5 plays in 3 days, so thank you. Wow. And then I had a request. I was hoping that we could get legal counsel on a discussion, so I'd like to follow up with that, which would be a request for an executive session to follow up on the property discussion that we had earlier. I'd like to get, this is the property with the train, that the train leases right now, and I'd like to get legal counsel on the 2001 agreement and also an update on the status of our rental arrangement, if I may. So I'd like to request an executive session for that at our earliest time.
I would support that.
The next opportunity would be the next council meeting, which would be the 20th.
Okay.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I would support that too.
Okay. Just going forward, that would be a good item for future potential agenda items instead of reports and actions.
Oh, okay.
But that's okay. It's just,
Thank you.
Since we're going to agendize that one. But, okay, anything else?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, counselors? No?
I was going to ask our city manager, we're having a public budget meeting on Thursday, and I think our city manager can talk about the purpose and the format of that meeting for attendance by the public.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. About 11 years ago, the council at that time asked to reach out more to the public to get input on the budget. So we created an additional meeting over and above what the charter requires or what's customarily performed in the budget process. So this meeting is timed to be before the department directors finalize their budgets and submit them to the city manager. If you think about a chain of events and putting a budget together, if you can have input at the earliest stage before things become more concrete, the likelihood of success is greater. So the meeting will be this Thursday, the 8th of August at 5 o'clock in the council chamber. Typically, the format is more on the informal side. I plan a PowerPoint. It'll take about 15 or 20 minutes just to give background on what a budget is and how we put it together. And we also, I think, average about 2 to 3 people for input a year, and I'm encouraged this year. We've had a lot more folks reach out, so we might even have 5 or 6 people. So that would be a record-setting input, and I look forward to that, and we'll let the council know what comes in the door.
Well, if tonight's any indication,
Yeah, that was good.
you might get a few.
Yeah.
Yes. Anything else? Okay. Go ahead. Okay. I was going to tell everyone that farmers market dates. We have farmers market dates where we're going to have a City of Durango booth. And so they came and joined me during my office hours and asked to have city councilors present. Our booth dates are August 10th and October 19th. So if you are able to attend, if you would let our city manager know so the city can make sure we don't have a quorum, but it would be really nice if we could make a presence there. And I encourage you to walk around and say hello to people because they really wanted to see us down there. I'm taking over for Dick White, and I'm holding office hours now. Thank you very much. He set a good role model for years, and I have office hours next Monday, August 12th, from 10 to 1 p.m. at the city manager's office or conference room. I'm going to hold 2 office hours this month. I'll have it this following Monday, August 12th, and then on August 26th, and I hope to see you there. And then I was going to provide an update for the Creative Economy Commission, our city's artwork project. You saw that in the weekly status report, but I also wanted to provide it to the community, which is we are making great progress on this Community Threads artwork project, which is for the median of the 550-160 interchange. Artists have been working really hard with community members and school students, our students, to make sure that this is a project that the entire community is going to embrace. And the student or the community created artwork is going to be on display starting tomorrow through the end of the month at Animas Chocolate Company. So you can go ahead and take a look at that. And then there will be a reception for this project on August 27th from 5 to 7 p.m. at Animas Chocolate Company. Animas Chocolate. So it just this is a really great project because of the community-driven nature of it, and the community is getting behind it. I just love how they've really incorporated all of that. So I hope to see a lot of support for this. And that's about it. Okay, that's it for no more public participation. Okay, no more council reports. Okay, let's move on to future potential agenda items then. That's when you would...
I didn't see that on the agenda.
Okay.
My apologies.
No problem. New agenda item, and so it takes some getting used to. I am going to bring up a future potential agenda item that I discussed at the last session, but we didn't have a full council there. And this was just to see if there is council support to further discuss the process that we might have around designating a sheltering space. And I want to kind of have a little bit of discussion about if we would like to make this agenda item just for future discussions to continue the dialogue around this topic.
I think we definitely need to continue the dialogue.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have to be looking at continuing the dialogue.
Is it a public hearing? This is for city council?
I don't necessarily think it needs to be a public hearing. When I had brought it up previously, I just wanted a discussion amongst the council in an open session, for example, in a study session at some point. I don't think we wouldn't have a public hearing, I don't think, unless we were to actually officially designate a space, I wouldn't think. So this would just be a council discussion.
I'm open to have an update from our staff on the strategic plan, as well as the ongoing communications that happens virtually every day with our staff and various entities within the community, so that we can act at the appropriate time. So, study session update, I think, is what I would suggest.
I recognize an update, but I also think the conversation last week, or whenever we last met, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, was more around selection of a site for sheltering, given the fact that, it may be months before we actually get the plan and the recommendations for that. So I think that the study session should also talk about what might be a viable option for sheltering.
And we had that discussion in a study session, so just acknowledging that. So this would be new information that we haven't covered in that study session. I'm just, for our calendar, in fact, we've got many things backing up on that.
Well, I think we discussed the Purple Cliffs location in that study session. And
And the site,
yeah.
and the concept in general.
Yeah, but where the current most populated area is right now is on city property adjacent, or on county property adjacent to city property up above the tech center. And the question is that, a possible question would be, is that another viable location for consideration?
And Chris, to your comment, I would add that I don't think we have consensus in the sense of, do we have a responsibility to name a site now that's temporary where people can shelter? And I think that's the discussion of reaching a consensus agreement as a council.
Oh, that's a good point.
Sounds like you have support for your agenda item.
So if we do this in a city council study session, I wouldn't mind having an update, but we do get updates in the weekly status report. So I would like to make sure we save time for council dialogue, and I think that's what this is about, council dialogue about, number one, if we are following the intent of the law that we put into place, and number two, discuss possible locations and what's currently happening.
Yes, so to Barbara's point, if the council decides that at this point in time they don't want to pursue trying to find a location for sheltering, then that ends the conversation.
Correct.
Essentially. I mean, and if we decide that we do want to pursue that prior to the Athena report, for example, then that means we'd have a continued conversation about it at the time, right?
Right. Okay. So I think there is support to have this on the agenda, and what about consideration for timing around that? Thoughts?
Time's a wasting.
I continue to see people sheltering all over town. So I think, and I continue to get feedback from people, business leaders who have to ask people to leave their property so they can go to work in the morning. So I think from what I'm hearing, we need to address it and reach a decision as a council whether or not we're going to pursue a temporary site or not.
And we just received another letter today. I don't know if you all had a chance to look at that, but it was kind of interesting for me because the gentleman who wrote it, I saw him in the grocery store today. And so I think that the community is being very heavily impacted by this in ways that we may not be as aware of. And I think we should be cognizant of that.
So I would suggest that as soon as we can get it on the agenda.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to say we're not aware of it because, we all live in the community. The strategy to address it and its effectiveness, which is what previous councils have looked at and certainly brought us to the current the current study that's being embarked upon. I'm open for the discussion. I guess I just don't want, I don't think it's fair to say that any of us, any five of us, are not fully aware of the problem and have dealt with this problem continually. I just, I don't think a site is necessarily, and designation of a site is the answer, temporarily or long-term. And so I'll state that again whenever we have this agendized, but I don't think there's a silver bullet to be achieved short-term by this city council taking action.
I appreciate that, and I think we should say kind of our stances for the noticed study session so that people are aware that we're having the discussion. We kind of got into this last time. It's a difficult conversation not to start to address, but what I wanted to do in bringing this up as a future potential agenda item is to talk about it, to get it properly noticed for another agenda in the nearest future, and then we can talk about it then, pros and cons. And I think that, though, to discuss it further, we can have a brief update from staff, but then we're going to talk about, and I think perhaps we could get an update maybe from our city attorney on the, I think importantly here is the intent of the law and what was around that when we created that law, the sheltering and camping laws. And so we could, I think, have some conversation on that importantly, so we can understand that. That will help us then get to question number 2.
I think that would be very productive.
Okay. Great.
So I had a question about the liaisons that we discussed before about particularly Fort Lewis College and what the process is to do that. I had a senator contact me yesterday about this since everything's coming into session here pretty soon. So I don't know what the next step is in that.
Do we have this on the calendar?
Oh, we do not. You can either ask for volunteers among the council or draft somebody and...
We could, I think, and even take turns going up there and visiting with them. I think someone had mentioned that to me. I think they meet 9 times, once a month during school sessions, in which case we could take turns and each of us go up there. I think that'd be fun.
I suggested maybe once a quarter, so that there maybe be 3 times, and if they wanted us to rotate, we could. So I'd be happy to volunteer to be the first guinea pig and
It'd be great.
get it going, and then whoever would like to go next, or...
May I ask, when you finish this, may I ask about another future potential agenda item?
To follow up with that, though, yes, Kim, I think that would be great, and it'd be helpful if you started that process and kept us informed.
Okay.
And possibly talked about that, talk with them about good next steps.
Okay.
Since you've got the contact.
Excellent. So the second thing I wanted to ask was, we had a discussion, a study session about the possible civic campus concept at Santa Rita Park, and we were going to have staff do a massing study, and I was just wondering if we had a possible ETA for a presentation of what that might entail.
We would like to get that to you before we have the Santa Rita discussion. And we had a staff meeting this morning, and we've got folks juggling other priorities, but that's something we'll have early September. Is that what the timeline, Kevin?
I would suspect before the end of the month, we should have the information. That'd be fabulous. Okay.
Great.
Thank you for the update.
Mayor, I was just going to ask, and if I've missed it, my apologies. We've talked about having a study session on advisory boards and their roles. Is that on the agenda, and did I miss it?
Oh, that was my other one, yep.
Is that coming up?
I don't know where it is, but we have talked about it.
I think it's on the parking lot.
Is it on the parking lot?
It's been on the parking lot for quite a while, because I know we also talked about the scheduling the tobacco marijuana conversation, and I said I would prefer that the advisory board conversation come before that, since it's been waiting for that.
I would agree. More of a priority.
So perhaps, I believe we're pretty full in August, maybe we can look at September.
Yeah, okay, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to give you guys an update on the Marijuana Hospitality Establishment Committee, our city manager is working with BID and the chamber and to develop a working group
Correct.
and kind of establishing a process around that. So they're on it.
May I make a comment about the public comment from that to here?
Yes.
I think the idea of the task force, I found that really interesting. I mean, we have some incredible scientists and people in the community who have been looking at this, and I recognize that we don't have to do all the work ourselves. So
That's right.
I don't want to get, stepping into management, but I do support involvement of our community and their expertise in helping us work to set these goals.
Right, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're
Yeah.
going to, I think the process will work, to engage with the community, to get their input, to get their feedback.
Yeah.
And it's a good process to begin the discussions.
So we had originally, I had originally requested a while back on the June 25th study session agenda to have a conversation about whether or not we wanted to revisit the electric fencing for bear proofing.
Yes,
And we've been getting a lot of bear-related conversations, so I was wondering if maybe we wanted to put that on a study session somewhere when we had, 20 minutes or so to have a conversation about if we want to take the next step toward that or why we might not do that.
And those letters for the city manager, because I don't know if he's seen them yet, those letters are also involving budgetary recommendations coming to us.
Are they to city council?
Right, for code
I think they're just going to city council.
I'll forward them to you.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen them.
They came
Yeah,
today.
they started arriving today.
Okay, I would be very willing to have that conversation. I would think, I am not an expert on electric fencing, I would need a little bit of an update.
Sure.
Right, so if we know what the reasoning previously was for not doing it and why we might do it.
Yeah,
or not
history
do it.
would be great, good point.
Sure. When we, if I may, when we get back together and revisit the goals, I don't believe electric fencing or the items you're talking about tonight are on the goals. No. So I would think we need to stick with some priorities because we don't have enough study session time to do all these things.
Then is it possible to have like a synopsis of the conversation and why it was chosen not to, or to be emailed to us so we can look at that information?
It's possible. Well, we're in the middle of doing our budget, and we don't come up for air until the end of September. So the people who do that kind of work are in these budget session.
And I understand that, so I'm not saying that should take priority over that. I guess what I'm actually really requesting is some sort of a timeline for when we might see that. Because I understand that you're busy through September, and if you said November 12th, I'd go, okay, great, November 12th is on the calendar, that's great.
And given that by that time, we're out of summer in any case, and they'll go into hibernation, it won't matter. So we have time to put this, on there for a future date. I believe Wildlife did make our goals under the environment.
It did, yes,
section.
actually it did.
And so I just was thinking about that, because that's where it would fall, in my opinion. And so I think that, at some point, when we are able to, it would be just an interesting discussion to have, I think.
Okay.
And we are getting some emails on it, so we should address it. Thank you. Is that all for future potential agenda items? Okay. We'll meet in 2 weeks. With that, I think we'll adjourn the meeting. That's it, right? Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.